God.
Those savages are threatening our whole operation.
See, I'm something of a
big fucking hard hero. Little fight meal. I like that.
You in my house, motherfucker!
You've called out the thunder. Now, get ready for the boom!
What's up, savages? As always, I am E. Middle. Bart unable to join us this week. He's a bit under the weather, but this is the Savage MMA Show, the show that takes other MMA podcasts to the deep water. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. Our numbers are continuing to grow, and we owe that to you guys. So thank you for tuning in and spreading the word to your friends. Continue to do that. We greatly appreciate it. We got a big show this week as we have both Bellator and UFC cards to cover on Saturday, and both those cards are loaded with great action. But first, we have a special guest to kick off the show. Earlier this week, Bart and I were able to sit down and have a conversation with light heavyweight contender from Bellator, Linton Vassell. So let's kick things off with that interview. Okay, we've got Linton Vassell on the line with us.
Oh, nice.
All right, so
What's up? What's up, boy?
Hey, what's up, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good, thank you. Just not long finished training, so I'm just resting right now, to be honest. Probably gonna go
Fantastic.
Yeah.
all right, so you've got your fight coming up with Phil Davis. How big is it for you to be fighting in that big event in front of the fans in England?
Yeah, this is a big one, man. And again, like, I feel like this is probably just as big as a world title fight because, one, he's the former champ, and two, you know, this for me is like another title contention fight. And to be fighting in my hometown at such a big event, man, this is what I've always wanted. So, you know, we're 18 days away. So I'm just looking forward to actually getting home and performing in front of all my fans and family, to be honest.
Man, I can tell how pumped you are about that. It's awesome.
You know, definitely with your division kind of tied up with King Mo and Ryan Bader fighting, and that you would think this definitely would throw you right back into the title hunt with both of them fighting in the Grand Prix.
Oh, exactly. I know they're fighting at heavyweight, but you know, I'm looking obviously, you know, beat the task in hand, Davis, and then see what Bellator has for me next. Obviously, I want that light heavyweight title fight. That's what I want. But you know, we'll see what they got for me next. But I'm open to decisions anyway. So Davis first, and then you know we'll start thinking about what's next.
Does when you're training for a fight like this, when you're coming off the fight with Ryan Bader, who's another wrestling heavy guy like Phil Davis, does training for another wrestling heavy guy in your previous fight help you for this fight, you think?
Yes, because I'll say all through my career, I've never really fought any high level wrestlers that have actually put me down and, you know, kept me there. So to be honest, I'd say fighting Bader, sort of opened my eyes a little bit and sort of made me think on a few things I need to work on. So I went straight back to camp. Soon as I had my fight with Bader, I went back to camp a few days later. I went back training and worked on the things that didn't work for me. So I've pretty much just been continuing from that up till now, and I feel like I'm in such a great place. Working on sprawls, get ups, you know. Actually had Tyrell Fortune come down and help me. You know, I don't know if you know of him. He's an amazing wrestler. He's fighting for Bellator heavyweight. So I've had him for the last 2 weeks also. So, you know, yeah, fighting Bader definitely opened my eyes up and, you know, made me continue from what I was already doing up till now. So it feels like this camp has been forever, to be honest.
Yeah, sounds like you're definitely ready.
Yeah, I think it'll make you a stronger fighter for sure.
Yes, exactly.
So, are you one of the guys that watches a lot of fights outside of your own? Because we've talked to some guys that just stay away from watching fighting altogether.
If it's my friend, then definitely I'm supporting them. And obviously, if it's a big fight, then yes. But because I'm in the business, I see fighting all the time. It's like sometimes I won't watch an event, and then other times I will. I say it just depends who's on there. So I'm 50-50.
Right.
So we wanted to ask you, since you fought both the guys, what's your opinion on the Ryan Bader versus King Mo fight coming up?
You know, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one because they're both different. Like I'd say, me and Mo was more of a stand-up fight. It went down to the ground a few times. Where I say, well, Bader was more on the ground. I couldn't pick a winner to be honest. They're both you know, top fighters.
Definitely an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I know it's hard to pick a winner, man. It just depends. I think if it does stay standing, then I feel like Mo will knock him out, and if it does go to the ground, then Bader will win. I think. So yeah, I think it depends on where it actually ends up going.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, 100%.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way we were both leaning on the fight, also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I've never been dropped before, and then you know. Mo dropped me, and I've never been kept down before, and Bader did that. So for me, you know, they both have their strengths. What's
the difference in preparing for a Grand Prix fight versus a regular fight? Because we know you've also got some experience with that. Is there a big difference as far as fight preparation goes?
For me, I felt like I probably didn't do it the best. I think I just prepared all rounds for everyone, just preparing for what I had in hand. So yeah, I'd say just be ready for everything. To be honest, in the Grand Prix, I'd say people could pull out. Hopefully, no one does. But you know, I'd say be prepared for everyone at the end of the day. But I think they're doing it a bit different as well because they actually get the chance to fight, rest, and then fight again. Where I was all in one day. So you know, I probably prepared for it a bit different than the way these guys can. They can actually have one fight, go back, have a rest, and then prepare for the other fighter.
Yeah, that's definitely a big difference from the way we used to run those
back
in the day.
Completely different.
So, we've asked you a lot of fighting questions. We like to try to let people, you know, get to know the fighters a little bit better. So, what are your interests outside of fighting? What do you do on the day-to-day outside of fighting?
Outside of fight, I love traveling. So after this fight, I'm gonna go Thailand. Definitely.
Oh, nice.
I've only heard great things. So yeah, I'm going to be traveling at least, probably going about 3 holidays at least. So I'll be in England first. I'll stay there probably about a week and a half. Come back, probably train a little bit, and then go Thailand. That'll be my first stop. I want to go Colombia. I want to go Brazil. So they're going to probably be on the list as well. But Thailand will be my first stop. You know, once I've had the fight and seen my friends and family.
What's your favorite place you've been to? Like in a traveling situation?
Egypt was amazing.
Oh, I would love to go there.
Yeah, I went to Egypt. That was amazing. So I'll definitely love to go back there also. And I did go to Jamaica. I went to Jamaica. It was actually my sister's wedding, but that was like 2006, and I only went for like a week. So that's probably going to be on the list as well when I get back. So yeah, there's going to be a number of places I'm going to go, but definitely Egypt and Jamaica are top of the list.
Awesome.
Being an English guy, are you a big soccer fan?
No, do you know what?
Oh!
I actually don't like. Well, I call it football.
Well, yeah, obviously, sorry.
I actually hate it. I can't think of nothing worse.
That's always an interesting thing to ask people because it's such a big deal.
It is. It's a huge thing in England, but I'm just not a fan. I've never been. I have tried to watch it, but I've just never been a fan of it.
Do you have anything else you want to ask before we get off here, Bart? That's definitely surprising. Hey, Bart, do you have any other questions you want to ask before we get off? No, I think I'm good. All right, we really appreciate you getting on the call with us. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you very much.
Big props to Linton for joining us on the show this week, our first guest on the Savage MMA Show. Make sure to follow Linton on his social media at Instagram and Twitter. You can find him at LDV_the Swarm. So thank you very much, Linton Vassell. Before we jump into the cards this week, let's cover some news as always. A couple big fights being talked about. The biggest, of course, the potential UFC 27 matchup between Nate Diaz and GSP. Now, this is something that Dana White let slip out on a podcast. I don't remember who he was talking to, but he let it slip out. And there's other rumors floating around that inside UFC headquarters, there's a fight board talking about a potential matchup between not only Nate Diaz and GSP, but on that same card, Luke Rockhold versus Gustafsson. Now, to me, that Gustafsson versus Rockhold, that doesn't really make a lot of sense for me. Rockhold coming off that loss to Yoel Romero. Gustafsson is the #1 ranked light heavyweight. Daniel Cormier is holding that division up by fighting Stipe. I know DC and Gustafsson have already fought once, but I'd like to see that fight again. Gustafsson has done nothing but impress. There's no reason that a guy like Rockhold, who's coming off a loss, and I believe a couple losses, there's no reason to me that he should be able to jump into the light heavyweight division, move up a weight class, and straight up fight the #1 contender. That's bullshit. He hasn't earned that. Make him fight somebody else first. We do have one confirmed fight for that UFC 27, and it's one of the guys that's won Savage of the Night here already, and that is our man Zabit will be fighting Yair Rodriguez. And man, Zabit put on a show last time out, absolutely stealing it and winning Savage of the Night honors, so that's something we will look forward to. A lot of talk from me and Bart last week about Dillon Dannis and trash talking. Dillon Dannis, in our opinion, just takes it over the top. I have no problem with trash talking. I actually enjoy it. I enjoy good trash talk. But Dillon Dannis just comes off as full of shit. And in an interview with Ariel Helwani on MMA Hour, Neiman Gracie said a lot of people have been asking him to fight Dillon Dannis. 2 jiu-jitsu studs. Apparently their schools have some type of beef with each other. It's a fight people want to see. Neiman Gracie's 8-0 in Bellator. And Dillon Dannis just won his first fight. So I don't... He says Dillon Dannis, he would understand if Dillon didn't want to take the fight, but that he's willing to take it. We've not seen a lot from Dillon Dannis. His one fight, he didn't look real good on the feet. Neiman Gracie has a knockout, maybe 2 if I'm not mistaken. he can fight on his feet as well as the ground. He's close to as accomplished as Dillon Dannis on the ground in the jiu-jitsu game. I think that would be such an interesting fight to me. I would love to watch that. With the stupid fans we have today, though, I think a lot of people would be booing because they'd probably go to the ground, stay on the ground. And from what we've seen lately, the fans are fucking stupid. That go to these shows, the UFC fans more than the Bellator fans. I will give the Bellator fans more credit for that, as they at least, maybe because it's a smaller promotion, not as many people know about it, it's more of the hardcore fans at those shows. But still, I think that would be a great fight. I'd love to see that. And on the issue of trash talk, Neiman Gracie also started talking about Conor McGregor, said how he thinks that MMA fighters need to be setting a better example because there's a lot of kids out there watching and stuff but part of the reason that he believes a lot of these fighters like Conor McGregor do the things they do is because the fans want to see that. And once again, I just think that's terrible on the fans. We've heard multiple fighters complaining about the fans lately, and I couldn't agree more. Some more news. We talked about bare knuckle boxing coming to Wyoming, making its debut in the U.S. in June. It's going to be on pay-per-view. I think the pay-per-view is $29. We'll probably order it. But Beck Rawlings broke news on her Instagram and other social media in the last couple days that she is going to be fighting in that event. So there's the first real big name current fighter that I have seen. There may be others. I'm not sure who all's fighting on that card. But Beck Rawlings is going to bare knuckle boxing. Now, I wasn't really sure about it. She posted some of the rules. I watched it. Punches are the only thing allowed to be thrown. No elbows. So it is like a standard boxing rules. You're allowed to grab the head and punch out, though. You're allowed to grab the back of the head and punch out. Being the only difference. And, of course, no gloves. The knuckles are uncovered. Probably the biggest bit of news that we've come across. You've heard us talk about it before. We both trashed it on our WordPress site before it was announced when we heard it was a possibility. But the UFC and ESPN have announced a deal. Now, we got some more details on what this deal means for fans, and in my opinion, it's a pretty big negative. So, what this is going to consist of is the UFC will be airing on ESPN Plus. For those of you that don't know, ESPN Plus is a subscription service. It's going to cost $5 a month. What UFC is going to get, what ESPN is going to get is 15 UFC events that will be exclusively broadcast on ESPN Plus. From the sounds of it, these are going to be fight night type events. And there aren't that many on Fight Pass right now. So from the sounds of it, this is going to be taking away some of the free fights that we're watching on FS1. We don't know what channel those are going to go to because UFC is still negotiating their TV rights. But it looks like some of these fights, really a lot of them, are going to be heading to ESPN. ESPN's going to get to exclusively air those. They also get the catalog of content that is available to UFC Fight Pass subscribers. So I'm not really sure what the plan for Fight Pass is here. They may be phasing it out. Because if they're... Not many people are going to be willing to pay the money for Fight Pass and this ESPN Plus. I don't think I'm willing to pay for either. I'll probably find a way to work around that with some streaming. But in this partnership, ESPN also will be airing the post-fight show. So the post-fight show will not be coming on television. It'll be coming on ESPN Plus. And ESPN Plus will be airing the entire events from the early prelims all the way through the main event and continuing into the post-fight show. So as more information on this deal breaks, we'll be sure to update you guys and let you know what's going on there. The last piece of news we're going to cover today is Oscar De La Hoya is starting an MMA company. And according to some sources I've read online, it looks like Oscar De La Hoya is in negotiations right now with Chuck Liddell. And the ideal partner for that matchup is going to be Tito Ortiz. So it looks like after all this time, we may be getting to see Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell 3. A lot of people are going to bash on that fight. I, for one, am looking forward to it. If it goes down, I've said it before, it probably won't be the best fight, but it's definitely a fight I'm going to be interested in watching. Okay, so that covers the news. We're going to jump into the fight predictions for this week with Bellator and UFC both on Saturday night. I'm not going to be able to watch either of these live. I'm going to be on a trip to Asheville, North Carolina, doing a lot of brewery tours. So I'm going to have to catch up on Sunday, Monday, before we do the podcast next week. Bart will be live tweeting the UFC event and watching the Bellator, so we won't be live tweeting the Bellator event this week. But the Bellator event kicks off Bellator 199 at the SAP Center in San Jose, California. Main event is the another first round of the heavyweight Grand Prix matchup with Ryan Bader versus King Mo. The fight card kicks off with Carrington Banks undefeated, Carrington Banks 7-0, a member of the Black Zillions, taking on Adam Piccolotti. Adam Piccolotti's got an interesting past. He has a win over Brandon Gertz, but he's coming off a couple straight losses. And Carrington Banks still undefeated. I'm going to take Carrington Banks here in the win. Probably by decision. Most of Carrington Banks' wins go to decision. But I think he can fend off Piccolotti. But I'm not going to undersell Piccolotti. Piccolotti has had a lot of good performances up until his last two fights. This could be a big rebound fight for him. But I just don't see him being able to handle Carrington Banks. Next fight up, Czech Congo versus Javier Ayala. Not seen Czech Congo in a while. And Javier Ayala's last fight was Roy Nelson's first fight in Bellator, if I remember correctly. And Javier Ayala actually showed me some things that impressed me. Czech Congo's been a really good fighter for a long time. I think, personally, I think this is going to be Javier Ayala's chance to get on the map. He's a really athletic for such a big guy. He cuts in just under the weight limit at heavyweight, actually. But he's a pretty athletic guy, and I think he's going to use that to defeat Czech Congo and kind of make his name as a potential heavyweight contender moving forwards. Up next is Aaron Pico versus Lee Morrison. I just have to go straight. Not going to trash Lee Morrison, but going to have to go straight in and pick Aaron Pico. This is a guy that Bart and I have both been extremely high on. He won his last fight with a nasty liver shot and just ended the fight quick. The guy's been training with TJ Dillashaw here lately. He's pretty close with him. And I just think Aaron Pico in that featherweight division is set for a meteoric rise, which everyone first thought he would be when he was signed into Bellator. A huge prospect. He's still such a young kid. And he lost that first fight and it kind of dashed some people's hopes a little bit, but he's bounced back with the last two, ending both those fights, looking really good. And I think that continues here over Lee Morrison. In the co-main event is Paul Semtex Daly versus John Fitch. Man, John Fitch, we've not seen you fight in probably 20 years, John Fitch. Where have you been? Bellator has pulled another UFC legend out of retirement, out of the crypt to go up against a deadly fighter in Paul Daly. This could get pretty ugly, and it could get pretty ugly fast. I don't see any way that John Fitch can handle Paul Daly. That's just asking for something nasty to happen. I think this fight's going to be ugly, it's going to be bloody, and it's going to end quickly and violently with a Paul Daly knockout. Now, on to the co-main event, a fight we talked about a little with Linton Vassell earlier. Ryan Bader versus King Mo. This is another first-round heavyweight Grand Prix matchup. Ryan Bader, of course, the light heavyweight champion. King Mo has fought at light heavyweight and heavyweight in the past. Linton seemed to think if this fight stays on its feet, King Mo is going to be able to knock out Ryan Bader. And that's a strong possibility, but in my opinion, the Ryan Bader we're seeing right now is just on a whole other level than what we've seen out of him before, and a whole other level than where King Mo is at right now. If this fight happened 4 or 5 years ago, things may have ended differently, but I'm going to take Ryan Bader by knockout via ground and pound. I think he's going to take King Mo to the ground, and Ryan Bader is just, the strength that this man has is ridiculous. Good luck getting back up when Ryan Bader takes you to the ground. I mean, it's a big fight. It could be an interesting fight. King Mo could give Ryan Bader fits, but I think Ryan Bader is just on another level. At this point right now, if I had to pick a favorite to win this heavyweight Grand Prix, I'm going to pick Ryan Bader. Obviously, whoever wins this fight will match up with Matt Mitrione, which is the in the side of the bracket that isn't set up for Fedor, obviously, to win, as we have Fedor versus Chael Sonnen on that other side. Fedor, we haven't seen much out of him. Neither one of his fights lasted really long. I don't think. I have my questions as to whether Fedor will be able to defeat Chael Sonnen, just because Chael has at least maintained cardio shape. He's been fighting. He could. I could see it going the same way as the Rampage Jackson fight, where he just wrestles him on the ground and runs the clock out, earning points through control. But anyway, Ryan Bader versus King Mo. I'm taking Ryan Bader by knockout via ground and pound. So also on Saturday we have UFC 224, headlined by Amanda Nunes versus Raquel Pennington. This fight card is going on down in Rio. So of course, like any other Rio card, we have a lot of Brazilians on this card. And kicking it off is a Brazilian versus Brazilian matchup. Vitor, the Phenom Belfort versus Lyoto Machida. This is a retirement fight, supposedly for Vitor Belfort. Lyoto Machida still trying to get back up in to title contention, but I don't really see that happening. Lyoto Machida's last fight, he defeated Eric Anders in a controversial scoring decision in Brazil, in his hometown in Brazil. It was controversial. Some people thought Anders had it. Anders had chances to finish him and didn't. And as we've all seen plenty of times, if you're fighting a Brazilian fighter, if a non-Brazilian is fighting a Brazilian fighter in Brazil, finish the fight, because when it goes to the judges' scores, it's untelling. But usually the Brazilian fighter is going to win no matter what happened in the fight. Vitor's been on a pretty sharp decline. This isn't the Vitor we've seen in the past. After they took his testosterone replacement TRT therapy away from him, Vitor's just looked pretty bad. I mean, he's been getting wrecked by people. And I'm going to pick Lyoto Machida in this fight. I don't know if it'll be a really thrilling fight. I'm hesitant to say that it'll go 3 rounds, just because Vitor we've seen it before. When a guy gets knocked out so many times, it's just easy to knock him out. But at the same time, Machida hasn't really been knocking anyone out recently. So I'll take Lyoto Machida I'm going to say, though, it makes it to a decision, and Lyoto Machida wins. The next fight we have up is Brazilian John Lineker, Hands of Stone John Lineker versus Brian Kelleher. Now, one thing we know about John Lineker is if he touches you, he's putting you down. He throws with power. Last time we saw Brian Kelleher, he looked really good, though. Brian Kelleher probably a better wrestler than John Lineker. And he also outlands John Lineker. It'd be an interesting thing to see. He has some knockout power. And I'm gonna call an upset here. I think Brian Kelleher makes a statement here, jumps up into contention in that division by defeating John Lineker via submission. I think he rocks him, takes him to the ground, and is able to secure a submission. The next fight, Mackenzie Dern, billed from the United States, but she's half Brazilian, half American, taking on ABC Amanda Bobby Cooper. Cooper doesn't have a really stellar record. She's 4-3. Mackenzie Dern is still undefeated. We've seen some interesting things out of Mackenzie Dern lately. She's obviously one of the hottest, well, she is fucking hot, but hottest as far as most talked about fighters. And she gets a lot of media coverage, a lot of people talking about her. And here lately, she has switched camps. She's moved from Arizona to California, and she says she wants to slow her fight schedule down, that she wants to live her life, and her fighting's taking up too much time. She's not wanting to train as much, because all they want her to do is train every day. Well, the problem with that is, from the first fight we see, Mackenzie Dern needs to be training every day, and it's not in jiu-jitsu. She needs to be working on that stand-up game. She almost lost that fight to Ashley Yoder, and it opened a lot of people's eyes. She got the win. Now, when she got her to the ground, she was dominant, and she looked really good there. But her stand-up game has a lot of holes in it. Nonetheless, I'm going to say Mackenzie Dern wins over Amanda Cooper. I think it's closer than a lot of people think it is. I don't think it's going to be a really pretty fight, even though both these girls are beautiful. Both of them, bombshells. But this fight doesn't really excite me that much. I don't think Mackenzie Dern has what it takes yet to fight the upper levels of that division. We'll see, but either way, I'm going to take Mackenzie Dern to win the fight. I'm going to say it goes to decision. I just don't know if she can finish it off or not. The next fight, Jacare Souza versus Kelvin Gastelum. Now, Kelvin Gastelum was on one hell of a hot streak, and that was ended by Chris Weidman in New York. Chris Weidman is a hell of a fighter. Jacare had been on a hell of a hot streak, and that was stopped by Robert Whitaker. He does have wins since then. Jacare is just one of those guys that is an absolute animal. But Kelvin Gastelum has such fast hands. He not necessarily always hits you really hard, but he lands so many strikes so quickly that it's sometimes hard to recover from it. Now, Jacare does have a size advantage in this fight. He's obviously a better wrestler, has more submission skills than Kelvin Gastelum. And I think Kelvin Gastelum, on the edge of he's ranked number 5, and I think for right now, unless Kelvin Gastelum has picked up some more skills and has been evolving since his last fight, I think that's probably about where he sits at, and Jacare is a title contender. I'm going to take Jacare Souza via ground and pound for the win. I think he gets a stoppage on Kelvin Gastelum, actually. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in this fight, as it has the potential definitely to be fight of the night. And I'll take Jacare, and I'll throw him right back into title contention with a win in this fight, as his only recent loss is to Robert Whitaker. I think a lot of people would like to see that fight again. Now, the main event matchup, Amanda Nunes versus Raquel Pennington. Raquel Pennington is on a really hot streak right now, but Amanda Nunes, the streak she's on right now, she's damn almost untouchable. And to be honest, I just don't see any world that Raquel Pennington has a chance in this fight. This, especially in Brazil, this would be the biggest upset, one of the biggest upsets of the year. Probably the biggest upset of the year to this point it would be, and most likely would stand the rest of the year as the biggest upset of the year. But I think it ends, and I think it ends fast, and I think it ends violently, and I think Amanda Nunes knocks out Raquel Pennington in the very first round. I'd be willing to put money on that. She has the reach advantage, she's got the power advantage, and she's so skilled, so good right now. So I'm going to take Amanda Nunes over Raquel Pennington via knockout. And that'll do it for the show this week. Bart will be back with us next week. He's just got a virus. He's a little under the weather this week. Continue to like, subscribe, tell your friends, spread the word as the show keeps continuing to grow. And we definitely appreciate all you guys out there for doing that. Follow us on our social media at Twitter. On Twitter, we are at Savage MMA Show. You can find us on Facebook, Savage MMA Show as well. My personal Instagram is savage_emiddle if you want to follow me on there. We're on YouTube as well. You can find us there every week. And our audio podcast is available on MMApodcast.com, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, pretty much everywhere you can find an audio podcast to download it. So make sure to follow us on there and spread the word. We'll see you back next week when we break down the action from these two cards and look forward to the action from the week ahead. Until then, stay savage.